Welcome to the AP podcast. Today we have Andrew Shows on the podcast with us. Welcome, Andrew.
How's it going? Glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you on the show as well. Today I really wanted to bring Andrew on and talk about online coaching. So Andrew is a complete online coach as of now. He said that he's independent from the gym, what's called a virtual trainer. So what I am also is an online coach, and kind of want to get his perspective and show you guys what it's like to be coached by an online coach, but also what it takes to become an online coach. So, Andrew, if you can give us some background, tell us your story, man. Tell us where you came from, how you got into fitness. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing now.
Yeah, so I think like most people who get into any sort of career like this, started out in a corporate gym. I had graduated from college with an exercise science degree, and I also had a math degree, and I didn't really know what to do with either of those. And my friend was like, "Hey, why don't you like start working out at this gym that I'm working out at?" And it was an LA Fitness, and I'd never worked out at a corporate gym in my entire life. Usually just like school gyms. And he was like, we were working out there for a while, and he was like, "Hey, why don't you start working here? Like, I'm thinking about getting a job here too." And so I took the job at LA Fitness. Slaved for $12 an hour, and ended up leaving there to go to a small, like a smaller gym. Actually, this gym we're in the shirt right now. It's called Los Campeones. Which was more of my way to go independent, train people in person. And then eventually me and my girlfriend moved to California. And so I had to basically all the clients that I had transitioned as many as I could over to online clients, and then needed a way to, got more online clients and just kind of built that up as it went.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, and that's kind of similar to my story as well. It's amazing how technology now we can create stuff and do this online training and really work with anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. That was also a nice thing because, at LA Fitness, if you've ever worked at a corporate gym, you know that a lot of the times you don't get to pick who you work with. And so I had, like a whole spectrum of people, who, obviously all of them had a goal of wanting to lose weight, but just in terms of personality, it was all over the board. And which is actually, I think, a really good thing. So a point that I want to make, I guess you kind of want me to give a little bit of like advice along the way too, I hope.
Yeah.
But a tip is that I think that I would advise people not to start out as online coaches, as virtual coaches. I think that you miss out on a lot of really crucial experience. And so one of the things that like I hated working at LA Fitness. Like I got paid no money to work a lot of hours, as most people that work at gyms in general feel like, I think. But the best thing that I got was experience, right? Like I worked with every type of person you can imagine, and I made a lot of mistakes, which is crucial, right? Like I had a degree, I was certified, so I felt like I was on top of the world, like I knew everything. And I basically, like, 50% of my clients fell off after the first like 2 months, basically. And the only reason they stuck around is because at LA Fitness you have to have an entire year contract. You can't just go month to month. And so a lot of them, like, they paid for that and they wouldn't even show up for the rest of the months. And so that was a huge learning tool for me, because first I realized, like, oh, I'm not that great. I don't know everything. And then also I learned how to work with people that I normally like wouldn't have taken on,
Mm-hmm.
which now I use with the clients I have now, because I have that perspective and also the experience, right? It also gives you like stories to pull from, right? Because a lot of the times, and we'll go into this probably in this podcast too, a lot of times with the clients that I have now, it's good to have like scenarios that have come up so that you can relate it to them, and then they can, feel like if they feel like they're not making progress, you can have a relatable story. that kind of shows them like, okay, well, this is where you're at.
Mhm.
So just
Mhm.
hold on. You're going to go through this stage and then
Mhm.
come out on the other side.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think most people think that training is you got to know the science behind nutrition and training, and it is obviously you got to know the plan to set them up with. But I think there's so much more, and being able to relate to your clients and having good communication with all walks of life is really where you're probably going to get most of your success because you're going to make them happy, and they're going to refer you to more people to in turn keep your wheels turning. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I like that you brought up like it's one thing to know the science behind it, which obviously is super important. You have to know that. But actually, my client the other, I think last week, she was like, I was talking to my husband and I was telling him, I was like, I didn't realize that signing up for an online coach meant I was getting a therapist. And because like it really is that, it's kind of the people that have been in this for a while, they understand that like, personal training and then like coaching in general is like 20% the science and like 80% understanding how to communicate with people, how to motivate them,
Mhm.
how to, put yourself in their shoes. And yeah, really just like, coaching their mind versus just giving them a program and saying good luck.
Yeah, yeah, I see it a lot. And I don't know what your specific niche is right now, but definitely have to be able to know yourself so you can relate to your clients in order to be successful. Because I've done the same thing as you and started to appeal to a niche and stuff like that that I really had no way to relate with. And this is when I started doing a lot of older women, older women through the
Yeah.
program. And so, I haven't had a kid or I haven't had that experience to be a parent. I haven't, you know what I mean? So it was a little hard
Yeah.
to transition because everybody perceives stresses and everybody perceives like their life a different way. And so I'm used
Yeah.
to like I was used to athletes. I prep a lot of people for like men's physique and bodybuilding stuff like that. And then I kind of transitioned into a general weight loss, and it was a big, huge change. So I know what you mean by that. But I think that what you're saying is completely 100%. I agree with is it makes you more versatile in the long run. So
Yeah, absolutely. And then allows you to pivot. And then also you can cross relate that information too, right? Like I think if you only know about one specific type of person, it's going to limit how you're going to be able to help that person,
mhm.
right? What's your niche right now?
Right now, I'm still kind of dabbling in both. For me, I love working with athletes. I have a couple. I have like a D1 athlete for volleyball and stuff, and I work
Yeah.
with men's physique athletes and some bodybuilding in the past, but right now men's physique. That's what I kind of really like. And then I love helping everybody, obviously, but
Yeah.
that's where I came from, and so it was the sports side of things. But now
Yeah.
transitioning, it's kind of hard because you got to live right, and with competitors the income isn't going to be there. And so, as much unless you become on a bigger scale, and where I'm at, I'm in northern Idaho, and there's not a lot here. So, social media is great, but I think moving to an area that would be able to be a bigger corporation for that kind of niche would help me. But right now, I'm doing a lot of general weight loss with just young to middle aged males and females, and really giving them the accountability system. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
What about
interesting.
you?
I'm 90% women between the ages of 25 and 40.
Really? And it seems like that's where most of my
Yeah.
I don't know how you do marketing and stuff, but it seems like
Yeah.
I through Facebook ads and stuff like that, it seems like that is the number one age range and gender and I don't know what else, but that comes through and fills out applications and actually gets on my program through an application process. Is that right there? And I'm not really
Yeah.
sure, but it seems like obviously a post pregnancy or something they want to get back in shape.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I can hear you. It's a little bit shaky.
Okay, go ahead.
Um, yeah, I think like part of the reason for me, I don't know if it's just I relate to women more than guys or not, but I think it's Also just the fact that like women are more willing to ask for help,
Yeah.
and and also especially with health too, like they care about how the way they look, and that's always like the first thing, right? Like people will be like, I'll always get people, they're like, oh, I want to lose X number of pounds, and I'll be like, okay, why do you want to lose X number of pounds? And they're like, well, I want to, I have a wedding coming up, or I have some event coming up. And then, I'll kind of dig deeper, right? I'll be like, okay, well, why do you want to look good for this event or whatever? And like, oh, I want to be more confident.
Sounds like we
And
kind of had the same mentors.
yeah, oh, absolutely, probably. Well, if you've been doing this for any stretch of time, and you care about it, and are willing to learn, like you start to figure this stuff out. But yeah, I mean, what I've figured out, it's never what's on the surface, right? And so most of my clients will come in wanting to lose weight, and really what they were looking for is they want confidence. They want to feel good about themselves, and they think that losing weight, or something that's in that spectrum, will give them that feeling, and it might, yeah, but only for a short amount of time. And so it always transitions with my clients into figuring out what, it's always something else, right? It's never like the weight loss is just, it's like a byproduct of
Yeah,
what actually is happening in their life. And it usually comes down to confidence, and it usually comes down to like not really knowing what they want, and really not being in tune with their intuition.
yeah. No, I agree 110%. Literally, I'll go through the application process and exactly what you said. I want to lose 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds, whatever it is. And they'll say all these things. And then it's funny because then I ask them that question, what you're saying. I'm like, okay, well, why is that so important to you? What are you going to do if you get down that weight? What is that going to enable you to do? And they sit
Right.
there and they're like, wow, that's a good question. I don't know. I'm like, well,
Right.
well, then what? So what I call it is like, what's your why? Is what I ask them, right? It's like,
Literally, that's what I use.
that's awesome. No, that's awesome. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And that's the biggest thing is I have had to adjust because before I've worked with, like I said, athletes, and they're just like, just give me, yeah, I'm down. Let's do this. Give me exactly what I need. I'll do whatever you say.
Right.
And then now I've really had to, in whether it's the sales process or like application process, to have them join the program, I've really had to adjust to helping lead through because they really want to do this. But usually people don't say no because of finances or their spouse or something, whether they say that. But in reality, I see a lot of it's just they're scared to like, they got to start something, right? Like they're scared to fail. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah, or they're afraid to, they know that they're going to have to make a big change,
yeah,
right? Like they're going to have to like, well, for a lot of them, actually, I had one girl, she was like, I was like, what's really stopping you? Why are you not, ready to do this yet? And she was like, I'm afraid I'm going to have to give up like date nights with my boyfriend or something.
mm,
Right. And because that's what people associate with weight loss and dieting, they associate like all the things that they're gonna have to give up. Like I have to give up all this stuff. And I mean, yeah, I mean, as much as I do, like that's never the case. Like it's really just, you just make a few small tweaks, stay consistent.
yep. Consistency is number one. Yep, I agree 100%. Well, I guess if you were to tell how do you adjust to that? Like, how do you explain to them and get them to be confident? I guess for people wanting to be online coaches, they're going to be getting into this space, and they might know all the
Yeah.
science, they might know all of the technique and everything to show them. But honestly, to get a clientele and to maintain it, what are some things that you would say that you do that help you with that communication skills, like you're talking about?
I mean, there's a lot of ways I could answer this. One, the first thing is I do coaching calls with my clients. I used to do emails, but I I didn't I'm I don't find that I'm a really good writer,
Yeah.
and so I don't communicate well through that way. And I there was like some sort of disconnect with my clients, right? It was the clients who didn't really need a lot from me did really well, and then clients that did didn't do well at all. And I think I shouldn't say they didn't do well at all, but they just like they had a harder time just sticking to it, type of thing. And so what I found was I mean, that was the first change I made, is I did coaching calls so I can actually talk to them. And then the other thing was, this is about like how to get them to stick to it, right?
Yeah, kind of like more of a communic. So how do you get them to be confident and motivated into your system?
Oh, um, I guess really I asked it's all about the questions, right? Like I asked them, what is their why? What do they want, and why do they want that? But it really, you get into like, what ultimately are they trying to do? Like, because a lot of people, they don't really think about it, right? They think that they want to lose, like I said, they think they want to lose 10 pounds, but really I'm like, what do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish? And it doesn't even have to be fitness, right? This is the other great thing about what I think that I do, is that I'm, a virtual fitness coach, but most of my coaching, not most of it, but some of my coaching is not even related to fitness with my clients, right? I have one client who, like, all we talk about is her job and like career strategy. And the reason is because her career is getting in the way of her health, right? Like she travels 50% of the time for her work. And so, yeah, on the surface, I could be like, okay, we need to, you're going to track your macros, and then you need to figure out how to track your macros when you go out to eat. And, you need to, this, and this. But on the surface, it's like, do you like this job? Right? Like, is this what you want to be doing the rest of your life? Or like, what's next for you? She's like 23, I think. She's pretty young, but I was like, where do you see yourself going? And yeah, we basically just talk about mindset around that. But ultimately, for people, are you talking about for like getting them, signing clients up?
Well, so yeah, I guess that would be good. Because some people will have this is pretty much just like trying to save people the mistakes that we've made, right? So,
Well, yeah, my first piece of advice would be, don't start with online coaching. I was listening to a podcast, I think it was with Jordan Zayat, and he was talking about, someone had DM'd him saying like, I'm so like, you're such an inspiration. You're my favorite Instagram coach. And he was like, Instagram coach? Like, that is not what I am. Right. And like he DM'd the kid back, and he was like, what are you trying to do? He's like, oh, I'm trying to be an online coach like you. And he gave some great advice, and it was basically like, don't start online, because you have to, unless you're willing to like fail a lot and like not understand why you failed. Like when you're dealing with someone in person, you can't fake it,
mm,
right? To an extent, like you're there with them in person. And I remember one of my clients I had, the first day she showed up, and she dragged her husband with, and like he didn't even have training, but she like convinced our manager that like he had to come with her. And she's like, if you met this lady, you'd been like, okay, whatever you say, like, fine. And she dragged him with, and she was all in a bad mood. And she comes up to me, and she's like, you're my trainer now, which I'd been assigned to her. And she was like, look, I want to lose 25 pounds, and I don't want to sweat, and if you make me do burpees, I'm gonna leave. and, her poor husband is just sitting there like, oh God, like, just do what she says. And and like, if you're not in person with her, you don't, like, the first thing I was like, okay, like there's something up with her, right? And what I figured out was that she didn't have good trainers in the past, and they made her do burpees, and she didn't want to like do a lot of work and not see results, is ultimately what it came down to. And if you're communicating with someone via email or online or whatever, phone call is a little bit easier, but if you don't have that face to face contact, like, I wouldn't know that. I wouldn't have like felt that from her, right? And now I have that experience. And so if I have someone, if someone's applying, and they have an attitude towards that, which I don't really get that ever, but like if say that came up, um, I know how to handle that, right? And it also taught me that the whole like surface level thing, right? That was like my best example of like she's not saying what she means, right? She's saying how she's feeling in the moment, but she means something else, and ultimately she wants something. She wants to better herself,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so we all have these like things that we have in front that kind of like it's like our protective barrier. And yeah, that's why you have to learn how to, you have to learn how to go deep with people. You have to learn how to peel back the layers of the onion and figure out, what is their true why? What is their why,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
Like
no, yeah, I agree.
Simon Sinek could say.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's like you can't, and I used to have trouble with this in the beginning, the transition, but you can't make an emotional response to their emotion, right? Like it has
Right,
to
right.
be a step back, 3D view, like what does their action mean actually? Exactly what you're saying, because I've had people with the same thing and they'll make these excuses or all these stuff. But in reality, maybe they had a bad day at work because they got fired, or they got their husband is mad. You know what I mean? There's like so
Yeah,
much that goes with it that if people listening right now, if you're going to go into the online space and go into a broader niche, you really have to do exactly what Andrew was saying is to become versatile and really listen to your client so you don't make like the first impression is going to be huge for them, and then as time goes on, as long as you're listening and giving them guidance to fix not just their nutrition but to help
yeah,
fix like whatever else, you don't have to know it, you don't have to know the answer, but you have to at least
right.
be with them, right?
Yeah, actually, that's a great point that you just brought up. And I think maybe this is why I get so many female clients. But one of the biggest complaints, because I get a lot of clients that had really bad trainers before they came to me, which I love. I love when I get clients like that because I'm like, you're about to have the greatest time in your entire life. And most of it comes from the fact that they'll all say the same thing. They'll say, they didn't listen to me, right? Like your number one job as a personal trainer and an online coach is to listen to your client. And if you don't have that skill, you need to develop it immediately. And really all it means is like, it means, not trying to solve their problems. Because this is the other thing that makes a great coach in general is like, you understand that you don't have all the answers. It's impossible, right? I can't know everything. Um, and the reality, and that's a good thing, right? That makes my job a lot easier. And the reality is your clients have the answers, right? They know what to do, right? Unless it's like, unless, they have some, disease or something that they came down with and they, don't know how to cure that. But for the most part, like people know how to get in shape, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Eat less food, exercise consistently, you're good, right? It's easy. Like that's why like knowing the science doesn't really make that big of a difference because like it all comes out in the wash, you know.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, yeah, sorry, tangent. The science really just makes it more efficient. It's not really like
yeah.
anyway.
More efficient in it,
Um,
fun learning that stuff, and it depends on what kind of level you're going to for sure.
right. Yeah, exactly, exactly. But anyway, yeah, it's really learn how to listen to your clients um that was the other thing with a client that I signed up a couple of weeks ago or a month ago, um, where she was another example where she had a trainer before me who just like ghosted on her basically, but just didn't wasn't there for her, right? Wasn't there to listen to her. And most of the success that I've had with clients is purely for the fact that they just talk to me, right? They just tell me things, right? And that's why going into this business you need to understand that you're a basically you're a therapist basically first, right? You're a therapist first and a trainer second. And if listening to people talk sounds really boring to you, don't get into this job, or figure out a way to do it without having to talk to people, right? And just understand that it's not going to be it's going to be different, which we can go into that, you know, later or something.
Yeah,
But
no,
like,
no,
yeah, there are
actually,
definitely,
that's a good point. Actually, because we are both probably talking about the same structure of business or online business of how we run things. Because I incorporate a lot of the same things with accountability. I don't know how you do it, but I actually will try to double down because depending on the amount of time that I have during the week, so I'll do like a group accountability call because then it brings everybody
yeah,
together.
yeah,
Do a group office hours, what I call it, and then I allow like to schedule a one-on-one if they need it during the week. Um, and so we do that also with the email follow-ups and everything. So I kind of try to hit it all avenues to really make sure they feel like they're wanted, right? Like they have
yeah.
that attention. That's the main thing. And so where was I going? Oh, so yeah, you said but that might not be best for you because you got to know yourself. Because if you don't like
Right.
talking to people, you don't like being a therapist, then don't do that. Because you'll try to do
Well,
something
yeah.
you're not good at, and then you'll do bad at it, and then it'll just steamroll downhill. So if you want to
Well,
start, go ahead.
yeah, I mean, sorry to cut you off, but yeah, the other thing with that is like, I don't view myself as someone, I'm not a social person, right? Like, I'm an introvert, right? So I don't necessarily like talking to people, and I hate making small talk, right?
Mhm.
And so that was another thing why like training in person was really like drained my energy a lot, is because when you're training someone in person, like you're just you're kind of there's a lot of small talk that has to happen, right? Like you tell them to do an exercise, and so it's interesting because like people always view like in-person training as more valuable, like they're going to get more from the person for some reason. But the funny thing is that I've actually been able to give more value as an online coach, spending less time with people,
Mhm.
purely for the fact that I don't have to actually, being in person is actually a waste. It's not a waste of time, but it's wasting time because I have to like, there's gaps, right? Like I give them an exercise and then they do it and I watch them, and I, like there's no communication going on, versus online. Every time I talk to my clients, sorry if I'm shaking the camera, every time I talk to my clients, it's 100% like about their like getting them to the next stage, right? Like helping them, giving them value the whole time. And then yeah, like my system takes care of the whole personal training thing. Like I have videos for every single exercise, and like all that stuff is taken care of.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Um, because in the application process, when people are trying to come on the program, a big thing that I get, and I don't know if you get, is you'll go through, and if you don't state that you're an online trainer in the very beginning, they just kind of think it's, I don't know, but they kind of get confused.
Yeah.
Then when you start going into the stuff and you tell them what your program's about, they're like, oh well, where is your gym at? And I'm like, well, I'm an online trainer. And I get that a lot. And then they're just like, oh, well, I don't know if that is going to fit me because I feel like I need somebody there. And I always tell them,
Yeah.
what's more important, having a buddy or somebody there to train with you or train you, or is it more important to get the results and the attention that you want? And they have to sit there and think about it. They're
Yeah.
like, huh, because they don't think exactly
Yeah.
what you're saying. They don't think about it like that. They think that being in person is like we have like this magic wand that's going to make them lose the weight, right? But it's not. That's not what it is. And
Right.
so I see the benefits for sure being in person for like motivation to like show them a technique. But in reality, with general weight loss, technique isn't the most important thing when you're doing exercises that aren't like it doesn't require like crazy amount of technique, right? There's a lot of variability with it as long as they're
Right.
not injuring themselves, obviously. But I think that what you're saying is
Yeah.
100%. I can actually spend more time with my clients throughout the week on an online basis because I can shoot them a text, shoot them email, shoot them a video or something like real quick, and then I can just
Right.
be in contact with them. You know what I mean? Can't do that at the gym.
Yeah. Well, you can, but you feel like you're doing it for free,
Yeah,
right?
so
Like,
I mean, like the gaps like you're talking about, like I totally understand, and so I feel like what I tell them is would you want a personal trainer that you see twice a week or 3 times a week only, and you don't check in with them online, like you don't communicate at all, or would you rather have somebody that you can literally
yeah.
reach out pretty much 24/7, depending on your hours and stuff. And I usually just allow like a certain message back time. But I love
Right, right.
working with clients so much that it's like I like to get back to them, because if I was being coached by somebody, that's the main thing. Like, say I don't have a certain food or a certain this or that I'm wanting, or it's not matching up right, or I'm confused. The main thing that
Yeah,
I would be like is, man, text me back, because I want to know, right?
right. Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's a good point. That's the whole, like, for some reason, in-person training right now, I think it's honestly, I think it's going to change in the near future, as it becomes more common. But yeah, people view in-person training as more valuable. Like, they'll be willing to. I used to work at an Equinox, and the training packages there minimum were like $1,200, and for like an 8-week program, and then they went all the way up to like $10,000 or something for a program. And people were, I don't, obviously the gym, the location I was at had a lot of people that had money, but like, just in general, people just value it more for some reason. And I mean, for obvious reasons, because like it's just what they know, right? Like they're in person,
yeah.
it for some reason that makes it more valuable. But yeah, I think it's definitely there's gonna be a shift in people understanding what online coaching is. I think that's the first thing, is like people just don't understand what it is. And so you're talking about like, how do I get people to like, so the first of all, I'm always, I don't have anybody apply that doesn't know that I'm an online coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why, like, I don't know if I do something completely different than you, but if they don't realize that I'm an online coach, I won't, you know, go through that process. But the other thing, and I think maybe this is, God, if you want to do another podcast on sales, online coaching sales, I'd love to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the other thing is that I'm always super upfront with anyone who I'm considering to take on. And so it's not like I don't try to like trick them into training with me, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, if I have someone on, basically, if they reach out to me or I reach out to them, I'll message them, kind of ask them what their goals are, stuff like that. And then, or if they reach out to me, they'll be like, hey, these are my goals. This is what I'm trying to do. Or they fill out my application, has that on there too. And then I'll do like a quick 10-minute call, and just basically that's the time. I always do 2 calls with people. And the first one is a 10-minute call to basically figure out if there's someone that is like, that I want to work with. If first of all, do they speak English? That's a big one. But also, like, just say like, hey, this is what's up. Like, this is what I'm doing. We're going to schedule another call to, see if we're fit to work together. At that time, I will invite you to work with me. And that's the other thing, that's the other reason why, like, starting in person is so important, is because you have to build up your value, right? Like, I can say to people now, like, hey, I'm going to invite you to work with me because I've built up that value in my client list. And so, like, I'm not going to take people on that I don't want anymore.
Yeah.
But again, like, that's why if you start in person, right? Like, a lot of people, if they start like as an online coach, and then they're trying to tell people like, oh, I have limited spots. Like, you don't have limited spots. Like, everyone knows it, right? Like, I have, I'll use this because I literally will only take on a certain number of people, because I'm not smart and do group coaching like you do yet. But, I only take on like 20 people at a time. And so, yeah, if I say like I have 2 spots left, it's because I have 18 people and I literally have 2 spots left. But if you're starting out as an online coach, and you put up a what's it called? A
Facebook ad.
promotion.
Yeah. Promotion.
Yeah, Facebook ad or promotion or something, and you're like, yeah, I have 2 spots left, come and sign up today. Like, first of all, people can sense that. People know when people are lying, right? Like, don't lie to people,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then also, like, yeah, like, you want to build up that value. And so you can do that as an online coach. It's just so much harder, and it's just not like, it's not as fun. I feel like when you train in person, you get that perspective of like how much it sucks to train in person, and then you can, you can appreciate all the extra time that you have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I
More time,
agree.
you fill it up.
Yeah.
So it's not like. Oh, that's another point I wanted to make is that if you think that getting into online coaching, this is another kind of myth, is that people think that like as soon as you start being an online coach, you have like way more free time. That's a myth. That's a lie. That's not true.
Yeah. Like the farthest
like
from the truth, right?
like do you get to spend more time at home? Yeah, like you have more free time. You can decide what you want to do with your time. But no, I mean you're still working, and that's a good thing. Like you should like what you do, and so I love what I do, and so that's why I choose to have hour-long calls with all of my clients, because I want to talk to them for an hour each week, right? Like it's some of them they don't really like, because uh, I've seen some people do group coaching, and like they'll have 20 people in their program or something, and then like each week only 2 or 3 people will show up for the group coaching each week. And maybe you're experiencing this too. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that I don't want, like, me personally, from my style, and maybe I'll get into that. Maybe I'll start doing that in the near future. But I just find that the other thing is, if first of all, if they can skip out on something, if your clients can skip out on something, they will. Like they'll they'll do it. But also, the reason I schedule like one-on-ones for each person, like it's their session type of thing, is because they don't really know what they're gonna get. Like it's kind of like they don't, yeah, like they don't even realize what's about to happen to them. And it's always like, wow, I'm so glad that I took that time, that hour to spend on the phone, because it really, yeah, makes
Yeah.
a huge difference. And the other thing I want to point out is that when I first started doing this, I was not really good at it, right? Like I don't want to say I'm bad, because I know like the science and I know what I'm doing, but I wasn't that good at it. And so you have to understand that you have to practice it and get better. You have to just,
Yeah. No, I
yeah.
agree. I agree. It's a transition to get into to really
Am I
get.
cutting out?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it's all great points. And with the group stuff, yeah, I noticed that if you don't make your clients do something, they're probably not going to do it,
Right.
unless you've built a relationship with them that, or their personality brings it out, But
Yeah.
if they are just getting into it and they are still more of like in the insecure stage, yeah, you're not going to get into the group call. And so what I do, that's why I kind of do the one-on-ones along with, meaning like, how do I do it? I do the group call, and I have the Facebook group, and we'll post up wins. We'll post up a bunch of stuff during the week, whether
Right.
it's recipes or whatever. And, and then really try to involve as much as I can, and then really call them out, tag them and stuff in the group. But if they don't show up to the call, and another thing is too, I don't know if you probably haven't experienced this obviously, but it's getting everybody at the one time. Like that's the biggest thing is, obviously you need to value your own time. So like you got to put it around
Right.
your schedule, but to get everybody on the same call, like you can't find everybody that has the same time during the day. Right. So
Right.
that's where,
That's another good point. Yeah.
yeah, that's where it comes in with the one-on-ones. I like to do half an hour call. Or if it goes over, it goes over, but I usually just say 30 minutes.
I always go an hour.
Yeah, I say 30 minutes, and then it usually
Oh,
breaks
yeah.
down a little longer just because
Yeah.
it just becomes more about not the nutrition and training, right? So,
There's so much more than that. Yeah.
so that's kind of how I do it, and it's like there's all these different structures. I'm still learning, like which one's
Right.
best, because
Yeah. Yeah.
you obviously we want to be able to help the most amount of people, but also obviously give the most quality. We don't want to just push the quantity unless, because our business strategy isn't about the quantity, it's about the quality. But say if you were trying
Right.
to do more of a volume pusher, and you're really good at writing plans, and you have a niche that it's not about the security. It's about literally just getting shredded or whatever, right?
Yeah.
That's totally different. And I know coaches like that. I actually just did a podcast with a prep coach, Terry Placker, and he's has 200 clients at one time, right? And so he goes through, and it's not like it's a cookie cutter program because I know his stuff. It's not cookie cutter because a lot of online coaches now, that's another good point, is they have icons and it's not even them coaching, right? It's just somebody else writing a meal plan and sending it out to 50 people, which is just complete bullshit. But but he's not cookie cutter, and if you can get into a niche where you know their body, the body type and stuff, and the science, and it literally just comes down to the science, then there's nothing wrong with that. But I think in our case, and in most of our viewers and listeners right now, it's going to be how we are doing things.
Right. Yeah. I mean, especially if you're talking about someone like that, I mean, first of all, his clients probably don't need a lot of mental help, right? They need someone to give them macros and a workout for the most part. Obviously, right, because most people that are competing for a show, like, they're usually really into fitness. They're usually pretty self-motivated, stuff like that. They just want someone that they just know that, like, you have to have someone watching you, right? Like, that's another point. Even LeBron James has a coach. I'm gonna make a post about that later, but like you have to have someone coach. You have to have someone watching you, right? Like, I've had a coach my entire life, right? Whether it was for baseball, football, wrestling, right? And then when after I graduated, I just had a coach for fitness. It was so random, but then, like, I had a coach for that. And then, like, if I hadn't, there's no way I would be where I am now. Not even a chance.
Yeah. I think the number one thing you can invest, well, like college, rips your wallet dry, obviously, but I think
don't go to college.
I honestly even tell people now, like, who want to be trainers, I'm like, don't go to college, man. Just get your NASM or get something else that you can get in 3 months, and then just start putting yourself in the atmosphere.
Go work at a gym.
Yeah. So, but I was going to say the number one investment I have valued is from being coached, like from my mentor or my coaches that have previously written my nutrition and training and how they done things, and investing. I've invested in a couple like mentorship programs to help build an online fitness business to get different opinions, and that's how everything we're kind of going. It sounds weird because it sounds like you've had the same kind of mentorship, or maybe you're just really good at catching on, one of the two. But it sounds like exactly kind of the steps that I've been learning the last probably 6 months.
I was in a mentorship program for the last 4 months.
Yeah, I did.
And it's the next stage, right? Like ask, this would be a great for your podcast. Every coach that you bring on, ask them, have you had a coach before? Yes, 100%. Right. So, like, if you're trying to, whatever you're trying to do, like if you're trying to take piano or learn piano, you get a teacher, right? Like, just everything that you do, you have to have a teacher or a coach or a mentor, right? And so, like, I was getting into the online space. I was getting into independent business, sole proprietorship. And I was at that point, I was just like, wait, I need someone to coach me through this. Like, I've had a coach my whole life. I need someone to do this for me. And I don't have one right now, but I'm definitely going to get one soon. Another one.
Yeah. And I kind of downgraded and kind of just stuck with the marketing and stuff. And I've tried to see what I could do on my own without the coaching, but it is tough because, for a couple of reasons, is I think you should get a coach, whether it's a fitness coach or whatever, because when you lay money down, you are like, you got to do it now. Right. Like that's the one thing with me, at least, is when I lay money down, I'm an all or nothing kind of person. So it's like, I'm losing something, I want to make sure I'm getting the full benefit of those dollars, put out. Right. And along with that, I think that if you there's a lot shorter line if you have a coach rather than you trial and error and obviously mess up and not get it. That could be one, hundreds of clients that you've missed. Two, it could be your protocol not working for your current clients. It could be tens of hundreds of clients that you've not been able to give your full self. And, you know,
Yeah.
in the long run, and the money aspect of things, it could be a lot missed as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
but I would love to do another one on the sales and just business stuff like that in general. I'm digging this.
Sure.
It's pretty cool. So,
Yeah, man. That was my biggest growth from this year was like last year I was focused solely on like how do I be the best coach ever? And then this year was okay, how do I help the most people?
yep.
Which
Yeah.
translates into how do I build my business?
Yeah, exactly. Same with me is like it's not like, hey bro, can you write me up a meal plan anymore? It's not that. It's like, how do you
Oh God.
know what I mean? Like actually,
I skipped that stage.
oh, you did? You got lucky because
Oh yeah.
especially when all your friends, right?
Oh
Like
yeah. Yeah.
everybody's your friend now when you know how to get people leaner, and they're like, oh.
Right. That's yeah. I didn't have any friends, so that I skipped that.
well, well, yeah. So that's good for you though, because that was a stage where you're like, you're thinking you're doing all this stuff, and you're like, man, I only got a couple $100.
But you know what though? That's another learning stage though, right? Like you use that, like write your buddies meal plans for free, watch them not follow it, and then now you understand why money is important,
Yeah, yeah. I
right? It's
agree.
not for you. It's not for the coach, right? Like I didn't get into this business to make a ton of money, right? Like obviously, yeah, I want to make a lot of money, but like when someone pays you, it's not for you. It's for them,
Yeah. Yep.
right?
That was my biggest thing,
Yeah,
growing or structuring this year, kind of like you said, growing a actual business. Is
right.
I'm still I feel like I need to mature more into a long term organics and stuff like that, because I put out a lot of content, but there's not a lot of like lead flow with my content. It's just content. But I think that really being comfortable, because you got to be confident in the price that you give, because if you're not, then why should they be, right? So I think that
Yeah,
you're 100% right. Like that price isn't necessarily like, you know, for me, I mean, obviously thank you for compensating my efforts, because like I feel like I deserve it, but that's because I'm confident that this thing is going to help you, and also that price is going to keep you accountable. Because like I
yeah,
said, when I put money down, it's like, all right, I got to do it. And so I spent the most amount of money I've ever spent on anything. What was it? October through December, for like a 3-4 month, whatever it was, mentorship kind of thing that you're talking about. Spent the most amount of money I've ever spent at one time, and it was the best money I've ever spent, because it's it's literally common sense given to you on a plate where you can understand it and then apply it, and then it gives you confidence to grow to this big. It's like you're planting the seed, and now you have this big
yeah.
thing, and now you know what I mean. So
It's like the placebo effect,
yeah, yeah,
right? Like the placebo effect works because you think it's going to work. So it's like when you hire someone to do a job, you know, you're expecting it to work.
yeah.
So
So well, awesome, dude. Well,
yeah,
I know we're going a little long here, but I guess,
I got no plans.
dude. Well, honestly, I think we should split this up, like you said, and schedule another one for like sales and different like strategy within the business.
Sure.
That's totally.
Yeah. Is your podcast geared? I'm obviously I should know this. Is it geared towards more like coaches or
So right
business people?
now I've been trying to really push it and get going, get ground on like SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube, because I
Yeah.
have really pushed Instagram, Facebook the last year. Really, I've had like
Right.
hit and miss on podcasting, but I really wanted to get it going hard, because um,
It's a good place to be in.
yeah, especially with the fitness.
Dude, it's actually really crazy that you messaged me this week because last week I had done an interview with someone and I was like it wasn't even for a podcast, it was for something else. And I was like, man, like the first thought I should start a podcast. And then the second thought I was saying was I should find someone who has a podcast.
And then somebody messages you.
Right, to be on someone, because I was like, okay, maybe I don't start one, but I'll just start with like giving, I want to help people out, so if someone needs someone on their podcast, I can give value. And then you literally messaged me, I'm like, Man, that is the universe at work.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly what I'm thinking too. Is bringing the community together, really networking with other coaches because uh, what I believe in is there's a lot of online coaches now, right? Or there's beginning to
Yeah.
be, and there's a lot of despite there's a lot of people think that there's a lot of bad coaches because of like just sending out cookie cutter stuff. There is a
There
lot,
are a lot of bad
yeah, but there
There
is a
are a
lot
lot
of
of bad
good coaches though. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Right. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of trying to like reach out and get people in the same space as me, and
There
really
needs to be,
and
yeah,
there's enough people for everybody to help, right? Like I'm not worried about you
of course.
taking a sale
Of
or
course.
I take a sale from
Of
you or
course.
whatever. I'm not worried about that because there's so many, you know.
Bro, heart disease is the number one cause of death.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. So
Like,
I think that if
it's
we kind of
so
come
stupid.
together and like share some stuff like that and really network with each other audience, I think that's most important. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So
Bro, if you want me on every week, let me know.
hey, yeah, I will.
Like,
Maybe we'll have to set
good
one
to
up.
go.
But
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, so let's wrapping this up for this one. I guess for our viewers going out of this, what are three tips or three things that you would say from your experience that you would give somebody trying to become either a personal trainer or an online coach?
Personal trainer or online coach,
Trying to get into becoming,
trying a fitness coach
yeah.
or a health coach or something. My three biggest things. Number one would be figure out how you can help other people. Whether that be because, and the reason I say that is because a lot of people, wherever they're at in their life, in their stage of this process, most people don't feel like they have enough experience or they don't feel like they're qualified enough. I think that's another big one, is that they don't feel like they're qualified enough. And I could go on a huge tangent about qualifications, because I think that they're not most of them, but a lot of them are bullshit. And my biggest example of that is most of my clients, I don't want to say all of them just because I don't know, but most of my clients will come to me before they go to their doctor.
Mm.
And there's an easy explanation for that. The explanation for that is because they know that I'm going to listen to them. Right. And that's a big one because, like, not to say that doctors aren't like useful. Like, obviously we need doctors. let's keep that a thing. Like, that's good. But the problem is that, God, I want to do a whole podcast on like how to talk to your doctor, or like what is a doctor, because I think most people don't understand what a doctor is. And there's three things that a doctor doctors diagnose, prescribe, and keep you alive. That's my quote.
They bandage you up, right? They don't prevent. They
Right.
don't fix it.
Right. They don't, yeah, they're not, and that's not their job, right? Like, I went off one day, like, on a tangent because I was feeling all high and mighty, but like, it's not their fault, right? That's not their job,
Yeah.
right? Their job is to keep you alive,
Mhm.
right? And which is fine. They're really good at that. And we definitely need that. But the problem is that it's that's all it is, right? And so when you need something more than that, you have to go find someone else. And so my first advice is find a way to help other people, because it could be anything, right? Like you said, like writing meal plans for your bros, right? That's a way you're helping them, right? Find a way to help other people and then make that your thing, right? And then just keep expanding off that, right? It can start with one thing and then it goes to another thing. And then soon you have 10 things that you're helping with people, right? That's an example of building your value. My second piece of advice is, I already said this earlier, is don't start as an online trainer. and don't even think of yourself as an online trainer, right? Because it's like, I don't know, I think it gives off the wrong impression, right?
Yeah.
I'm more of like an accessible therapist, basically, like,
Yeah, no, I
right.
agree.
And so, yeah. And so that's my second piece of advice is get experience. And I guess my third piece of advice is don't be afraid to do things for free. I think that was a big thing for me coming into, I mean, just kind of like in general, like, um, yeah, feeling like you have to be paid for everything. Like, and then also, actually, this is what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about don't be an online trainer for the money,
Yeah.
right? Because a lot of people will sell you on the fact that online coaching makes you more money and saves you time and all this stuff. And while that can be true, yeah, like it does save you some time, and you can make your potential for making more money is higher, right? Because you're not trading your time for money. You like, don't get into it for that. Get into it because you realize that you can help more people as an online coach than you ever could as an in-person trainer, right?
Mm-hmm.
But start as an in-person trainer. It's like working in, it's like anything, right? Like, start in the trenches, figure, like, that's where you learn the most, right? That's where I learned the most, is I was training people in person and getting to know how to talk to people and communicate, and yeah,
Yeah.
and then transition into online.
Yeah, no, I remember I actually did a podcast, like, I want to say probably a year ago now, with Jordan Syatt. And
Nice.
his word of advice was, if you want to become an online trainer, give out all of your content for free. He's like, literally
Yeah.
push out as much free stuff as possible, and your following will come, if it's good. And the
Right.
sales will just happen because they're buying you. They're not buying your
Yeah.
program. They're buying you, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's been huge for me, is like, I'll have people that I'll have people that'll be like, I don't know if I'm your ideal client, right? They'll start making excuses about like they're not right or something like that. And then, also, like, I'll get them on the phone and then they'll be like, oh, like, you know what you're talking about. Like, you actually care. Like, wow, what the hell? I did not expect this at all. Cause they'll think like they're going to get on the phone and I'm going to be like, yeah, what's up, bro? Like, all right, we're going to give you a plan. Like, you know,
yeah,
they talk
yeah.
to you into,
No, seriously, no. It's
oh,
amazing what people think.
yeah. But I mean, for probably for good reason. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there like that. So yeah, that would be my advice, is like, I don't remember what the three things I said were, but be patient, start small, build off of that. Like, you don't know everything, and that's okay. You don't have to know everything, right? Listen to your clients.
Awesome,
That's it.
awesome, dude. Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I really do appreciate it. It was some great information. I actually learned a little bit, and it was nice to relate to
Cool.
somebody in the same space, bro. Really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
So,
awesome, man. Thanks for having me on.
yeah, no problem. No problem. So, what I'm going to do, for everybody viewing, I'm going to put Andrew's social media stuff, Instagram, all that stuff in my description box. So, if you guys want to reach out, ask him any questions, and see how he does things, or if he can help you, or if I can help you, I'll put my stuff in there too. Other than that, if you like this, if it helped you guys, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel. There's a lot more podcasts coming out. And if you have any more ideas for the podcast, make sure to either just message me or comment below. All right. So other than that, thanks, Andrew, and we will see you next time.
Awesome. Thanks, Austin.